the offensive line is an interesting thing to me. Like when you looked at what happened with Andrew Luck, his career was totally derailed because they didn't take that seriously. Same thing could happen to Joe Burrow, although they just went to the Super Bowl last year with the worst off. I mean, giving up the most sacks in the league. And everyone said they should have drafted Penei Sewell. They drafted Jamar Chase. They were right. So maybe as you know, the ball comes out quicker and the game's more about getting the ball to your playmakers in space right away. Maybe pass protection isn't as important. But the Niners are really going to test that theory this year because outside of left tackle, they got question marks. So let's go position by position and try to figure out what this could be. I don't think we need to talk about left tackle. I mean, other than they have the best one in the game, and if he gets hurt, the next man up would probably be Colton Kivitz.
Agreed.
Because okay, and frankly, he should have played in the NFC Championship game. And Trent Williams said it himself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can't play left tackle on a high ankle sprain. He tried.
No way. There's no way.
You can't.
Right.
So I mean, anyway, he's like, he even sees like, how do I tell my teammates I can't play? I can't.
Right.
I can't do it. So he tried, but it should have been McKivitz. All right, left guard. What do you think?
So left guard, I think it's probably going to be Aaron Banks. You know, before I even get into that, let me say this. So I've done some other podcasts throughout the summer. One thing I've always said, I kind of want to know if you agree with this. There's a lot of question marks on this offensive line. No question. There really is. From an outside perspective, I'm not in the organization every day. I didn't get to see Aaron Banks, these guys last year. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to improve. I don't know how much they have improved. But I'll say this. I do think it's almost – I'm willing to err on the side of caution when it comes to the 49ers and how they have developed their offensive linemen because I've seen them get some decent production out of guys like Mike Person, Purcell. I've seen them do things like that with some of these guys. John Compton. Yeah, 100%.
A lot of games with Tom Compton, and I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and if we're just going to be blunt about it, we've had quite a few offensive linemen on the 49ers who probably wouldn't be starters or even make a lot of other teams. But I think the difference is with the 49ers and with some of these other teams, let's use the Chiefs, for example. I talked about them a second ago. They're going to be much more of a pass-heavy team. The 49ers are still going to be a run-first team. Right. Now, when we say run-first team, does that mean that they're going to run the ball 60 times a game and pass the ball 15? No, I don't necessarily think that. But I do think if it's working, they're not going to run away from it. And they also have Trey Lance.
They pass it, and they're probably going to run the ball more than any other team in the league. I agree with that. So run blocking is more important.
It is. And so I think you can kind of get away with guys who maybe wouldn't make it on other teams, maybe a little shaky. I think you could get away with it. And so the last thing I'll say just in regards to that part is if the 49ers have an offensive line unit that can rank probably in the top 14, 13, and we're not talking about them consistently on a week-by-week basis, I think that's a good thing. I think there's a lot that goes into the offensive line, but I also think that if we're not talking about them, that means they're probably doing their job and it's boring. I want to see boring offensive line work. Go ahead.
But let's come back to Aaron Banks. I mean, he's going to get the first crack at this starting job. I agree. It's funny. They asked about his body. He's like, yeah, I didn't lose any weight. You know, I lost some fat, added some muscle. Like Trent Williams came out. He's like, the dude lost 20 pounds. He totally remade his body. Mm-hmm. He looks slimmer to me. To me, like, he is supposed to be a dominant player here. He's a second-round pick. I mean, I guess he's not supposed to be as good as Laken Tomlinson, but he's supposed to be an asset as a run blocker at least. So I don't know if I know he doesn't really have the mobility to do the outside zone stuff, but I don't expect that as much this year. It's going to be more of like a shotgun between the tackles run game with him and the center, like combo blocking people. So move people. I'd like to see. He's supposed to. He did in college, right? He's a big dude. I mean, move.
He did.
Yeah.
What do you expect from him this year? Do you think it was a problem that he didn't play last year? Because I have a lot of questions. I don't know what to expect. I don't want to rule him out, but I do have questions about his in shape ability.
It seems like the Niners drafted 3 offensive players and redshirted all of them.
Yeah.
Lance, Sermon, and Banks. And it seems like they all were drafted with an eye toward this year because Lance takes the offense from under center to the shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Sermon played with Kyler Murray and Justin Fields in the shotgun in college. And Aaron Banks is that guard you need in the inside zone read run game. So it seemed like they wanted to do this transition, but they felt like it was going to happen this year, and Banks needed to remake his body, and Lance needed to redo his mechanics. And there was so we'll see if the process worked. We'll see.
We will.
Yeah.
So do you think it's going to be more power run? rather than inside outside zone now? Or do you think it'll be a good mixture of both?
I think it's going to be a lot of inside zone from the shotgun, and they'll have some gap scheme stuff too because they have a lot of variety. But here's the evidence I would point to. Anthony Lynn is here now.
Right.
When he was an offensive coordinator in 2016 in Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
he had Tyrod Taylor and LaShawn McCoy. That team led the league in rushing yards and touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And their split was 2-to-1 runs from the gun as opposed to runs from under center. So they'll still do runs from under center, but with Jimmy was the other way around.
Absolutely.
He's not a threat as a runner in the shotgun. So what's the real point? You have no play. You don't have the play action isn't as effective, and he doesn't add anything. But now once you have a mobile running quarterback, you really want a lot of shotgun stuff because even if you don't run him, everyone's freaked out about it.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I agree with that, and I think that's a fair point.
Right.
They're going to run the ball a lot.
So look at Trey Sermon, look at Ty Davis Price. Like, what do they do in college? That kind of stuff that they're going to be doing this year with Trey Lance.
Absolutely. You look at even just the makeup, the build of a Trey Sermon. He's a lot like a Melvin Gordon. Anthony Lynn's got a lot of work, and his best year was under Anthony Lynn. So that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
For sure. Yep.
If we move on to center, I think it is going to be probably Jake Brendel.
If it doesn't work out with Aaron Banks, who do we think is going to step up?
Ooh.
The Kivitz could do that too if they want to. I think what the Niners are trying to do is not have people flipping left and right. I think that's not working. So you might have a tackle slide down.
Jalen Moore?
Could be, although Moore's been playing a lot in the right. Burford's been playing right. Well, that's why I say it. But those guys are candidates. I'm thinking McKivitz might be the backup left tackle, left guard. Yeah.
So swing.
Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway.
That's fair.
Center.
I do. I mean, we've been talking about it a lot lately, especially because Alex Mack just retired. But I mean, I do. I think at this point in time, it's got to be Jake Brendel. I really do. He's got a lot of reps with Trey Lance. That does mean something. It really does. The fact that he was the second string primary backup, took all his snaps from Trey last year. He has a lot of, I would say, experience also in this system. I know he didn't play a whole lot, but he's been with us for a couple years now. He was with Chris Furster with Miami as well, too. So there's familiarity there. Alex Mack and Brendel have a lot of similar athleticism as well, too. So that's where it comes back to me saying the question marks. There are question marks. I don't know how he's going to respond. And it is still a drop-off from Alex Mack to Brendel. And there's a lot of pressure and responsibility put on the center in particular. Got to be able to call out, certain coverages that are coming. He has to be able to have that connection with Trey Lance. I know they've worked together a lot this past year. So I'm, once again, erring on the side of caution with Jake Brendel. I think he can be a solid starter. I don't expect too much out of him, but I think maybe because we don't know, it's easy to freak out about it. It is. We don't know what to expect from him. But at the same time, he's been in the system for a couple of years now. I was with Furster before that. So I'm willing to err on the side of he may be further along than what any of these rookies could get to.
What's fascinating to me about Brendel is the signs were there last year that the Niners believed in him. I didn't even know he was on the team, Jamal. I forgot.
Right.
He was on the practice squad. But I'm looking here. He was active for 16 games last year. I didn't know that. I mean, Banks wasn't. They trusted him. And I always assumed that if something happened to Alex Mack, that Daniel Brunskill would slide over and replace him. No. Had anything ever happened to Mack, it would have been Brendel. And that's what Kyle keeps saying. He's like, Brendel was our backup center last year.
Don't forget about Brendel.
He was on the team. He was active. He was the backup center. I mean, I don't understand why people are so surprised. And it's like, yeah, it was right in front of us. And the one extra thing that Jose Sanchez, writer on my site, All 49ers, pointed out, which was genius, is that Brendel has been – I mean, Lance has taken all of his snaps with Brendel. He's come to the 49ers. So they already have a rapport as well. I'm not sure that Brendel's going to be the starting center week 17. But I do think he's going to get the first crack week 1, and we'll see how it goes.
Who would be your guess by week 17? Do you think one of these rookies is going to just improve throughout the season to get that? Because I do. I honestly feel like when it comes to center in particular, we don't talk about it enough, but the ability to have that rapport for exchanges, especially if Lance is going to be in shotgun, that means a lot. That could lead to 1, 2, 5 turnovers throughout the course of the season if it's a switch. That's a big deal to me.
Agree. If the Niners are in the playoff hunt at the end of the season, as they should be, and Jake Brendel isn't good enough, I think they could trade for a center. They could do that. Get Jimmy Garoppolo's money off the books and trade for a center, or the only other option is really moving Brunskill over at that point. So,
yeah, right.
You got that. He has started at least 8 games at center in his career. and he
Sure.
wasn't terrible. So you got that. That's that's the 1 and 2, I think, at center. I mean, Donovan West.
Yeah.
Maybe in a year or two.
That's my thinking right now too. I think he'll be on the team.
Yeah.
Got you. I agree. Do you think Donovan West is going to be a practice squad stash then this year? Probably. Or is it's too early? It's too early.
I don't think he's going to like show out in preseason to the point where someone's going to like swoop him off the 49ers after not getting drafted. I think the Niners, he'll be there he'll be on the practice squad, and he might be their starting center one day. I mean, if they think they can develop guys like Jake Brendel into starting centers, maybe Donovan West fits too, but probably not right away. Especially because it seems like the center, they want the guy to have a great grasp of what the offense is.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I think you have to, especially in Kyle's system. I think that's one thing a lot of fans, I think it's one thing that a lot of us know a lot. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of responsibility placed on the center in this offense. If Brendel is not stepping up, there's a lot of confusion. I don't think that would be just Trey Lance. I think some of that will fall onto his shoulders being the starting quarterback, if that's the case. But at the same time, I don't think that's fully his fault.
Justin Lomker says, does Kyle have the patience to work through bumps with Lance will have this year? Doesn't seem like he will, even if the issues aren't directly his fault. Well, he never seemed particularly patient with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, in Kyle's defense, Jimmy never improved. And Jimmy was making a lot of money and was a lot older and had worked with Tom Brady for all that time. But I don't know about Kyle's patience. That's a good question.
That is a good question. I kind of think, tell me if you agree with me on this. Do you think that Kyle Shanahan's job is on the line if it doesn't work out with Trey Lance?
Yeah. Depending
on
if Trey Lance is just a flat out bust, which I don't think he will be. But if he were like Johnny Manziel or something, yeah.
100%.
Because I think people would look at Kyle as, great scheme, but you got to keep him away from personnel, man.
Right.
Far away from personnel. And that takes his stock way down.
Let that dude be an OC. He might be best served as an OC if he can't cut it as a head coach, Yeah. And one thing Kyle's done is sometimes I do feel like he puts too much on his plate being the head coach. Sometimes it's okay to hire other staff members, assistant coaches who can take on some of the roles so you can be able to see throughout the course of the season what happened during a play. Oh, I had my head down. I was watching this. I didn't get to see that. You should be watching every play. You should be seeing everything that's going on.
Jamal, how old are you?
28.
28. You remember Mike Shanahan?
Yes, sir.
If you remember, the way I remember Mike Shanahan was excellent coach, hell of a scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of down years because he got ultimate power with the Broncos and really meddled a ton in personnel and got it wrong more than he got it right. And it's like, for whatever reason, Kyle and Mike feel like they can't do their job and they're feel like the emperor of the building. And they've gotten that power, but it hasn't worked out for them. It really hasn't. Just saying. And McVay's not the emperor of the Rams. Les Snead's very powerful. So I don't know.
I agree. And sometimes that comes down to personality. I think it might just come down to the personality, the way these coaches, the way Sean McVay is. Sean McVay is 100% a player's coach. Kyle Shanahan, I think he's a player's coach. I wouldn't say he's 100% a player's coach. I think it's my way or the highway. I'm going to tell you like it is. Either get with it or get out. I'm just going to be honest.
And it's like, they're all control freaks to a degree, but a reluctance to delegate. Maybe very few people you actually trust delegating to. And one is his dad. One was Mike McDaniel, who's gone. Part of being a head coach is being really good at delegating and having a lot of people you trust. Otherwise, because just every single job that you try to do on your own is a 24/7 job on its own. Like if you hired someone would be doing that 24/7 all year. And now you're saving those jobs that you're trying to knock out at once.
Good luck.
Good luck. You're
know your strengths, know your weaknesses.
You're great, but you're spreading yourself thin. Last Second Sports, that rings a bell.
I know that guy.
Shout out my guy Jamal. I love y'all. What's up, Jesse?
Appreciate you.
Rich Bonsall says Brunskill to center, Banks and Moore at the guards. That could happen. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're not done. Voice Ad Agency says there's an insane highlight clip of Lance in high school. He played offense and defense. I think that is what gives him an advantage compared to other quarterbacks. Yeah, he's a great athlete for sure. All right, let's finish up this topic. Right guard, what you see? How you see this happening?
I do think it'll be Brunskill. I think you and I see it the same way. I think it's going to be Brunskill right now. If there's any problems, we really just spoke about it. If there's any issues with Jake Brendel, I think he potentially could slide over to center. But I also think, and this is coming down to some of my depth pieces that I think will probably make the roster, just not as a starter. I think you look at guys like Burford, Moore, and even Nick Zakelj. I think those are three guys. And from what I've heard, I don't know too much about this player yet, but from what I've heard about Zakelj, he seems to be a very, very smart player that's been on the 49ers radar for many years. I think all the way back to when he was a freshman. So he's another option that I think will have the ability to potentially make this roster and transition. I don't want to say transition to center, but I think he might have the smarts and the headiness to potentially play that position. I just think halfway through the season, a quarter way through the season, you probably don't want to have to make that kind of switch, especially for a rookie. I think right now it'll probably be Brunskill.
Agree. He does have knee tendonitis or whatever. Didn't do anything this offseason. I'm sure he'll be. I'm not sure. I expect he'll be okay for training camp. If it's not him and he starts breaking down, then the next guy up would be Jalen Moore.
I think Jalen Moore, right?
Jalen Moore. I think he's a year ahead of Spencer Burford. Burford probably is more gifted, but he's the youngest player in the team. He's 21. So probably Jalen Moore at right guard. Then right tackle, McGlinchey says he'll be back for week 1. So if he's healthy, it's him.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical. So let's say McGlinchey isn't ready week 1.
Yeah.
You think we'll be taking?
I think at that point, if he's not ready, I do think it'll be Nick Zakelj. I think he has the ability to hold that position down due to. Say it again.
Oh wow.
I do. I partially think that some of the draft picks that we made were due to the chance that he could potentially not come back. This being Mike McGlinchey, or this could potentially seriously be his last year playing for the 49ers. To me, from what I've heard, I don't know too much about this player yet, but I have heard that Nick Zakelj is a very smart player. So I think they could be working with him right now during training camp to potentially have him slide into right tackle. I kind of see that as one of the more underrated pieces that maybe people aren't talking about right now. I want to go as far as to saying he might be the first offensive lineman off the. I think he could be.
That's interesting. He's a very intriguing player. In minicamp, they had him at left guard. He was a left tackle in college, and they said that they're going to try him at center. So maybe that's the guy who's their starting center next year. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go at right tackle though. At least with the guy they had at minicamp and OTAs was Justin School. Remember him?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know.
A little bit.
They won games with Justin School, just like they won a lot of games with Tom Compton. He's not great, but I think he might get the first crack at it just because he's a vet who's been in their program for a while. Also, Jalen Moore could get a look out there too. They like him. Okay. And I think they felt that he really showed a lot for a rookie. I think they feel that rookie offensive linemen struggle, that they really have to get a lot stronger. And Jalen Moore should be a lot stronger than last year. So I think they're going to give him a real close look at both right guard and right tackle. He might just be better than Daniel Brunskill. He might just be better than Mike McGlinchey. Like, look out for Jalen Moore.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
So just in regards to Jalen Moore, and you just mentioned right now the potential of him starting either at guard or tackle. Maybe you know the answer to this. Maybe I'm talking to the wrong person about it. What would you say are some of the nuances between playing guard or playing tackle and being able to swing like that at a moment's notice?
Well, the pass protection is much different.
Right.
I mean, as a tackle, they always say like you get to take 3 or like a couple kick slides. There's time and space between you and the guy, and it's very one-on-one. At guard, it's like the contact happens instantly.
Right away.
So a whole different set of techniques in that. But in terms of the run blocking, I think it's probably pretty interchangeable. I mean, in outside zone, it's the same reach technique. I think it's pretty similar. So I think that's why if this is a run first team, maybe they feel they're a little bit more interchangeable, guard, tackle, that kind of stuff.
And that's the part that I was getting at.
Their offensive linemen are particularly great one-on-one on the edge. I mean,
other
than Trent Williams.
Right.
That's
the part.
One-on-one.
I agree with you right there. That's the part that I was really trying to get at and see if I was in the wrong for thinking that. Because we are a run first team, it should be not as difficult to transition between guard and tackle due to the fact that we are a run first team.
Look at Tom Compton. He did it.
100%.
He did it. Absolutely. Keneal says Jamal. My guy keeps killing it. He is killing it. He's a natural. 49ers Daddy said this show with Jamal is fire. Lance MVP season. It is fire. We just got to get Jamal in a different room next time.
Facts. Let me work on that.
Every time, the first time he's like, there's like 2 or 3 things. You're like, yeah, and then boom, then you got the most professional show ever after that.
You know, I heard a comment earlier saying all Jamal needs to do is open a window or open a door. So I'm probably going to try that next time.
Probably that, or
I don't know
like
if that's the case.
like
I'll try
a
that.
couch or something. You know what I'm saying? Something to take up the echo.
I got you.
But yeah, opening up a window, I'll do it too. We got this one. There's an insane. We got that one. Hold on. Jamal, 49ers Daddy. Solobo Bay Area says the Bay Area got your back, Iggy. You have a friend in me. LOL off topic. That's very nice of you to say. Thank you.